I started working for a company, and I stayed with that company for 6 years making poles. That's all we did, make telephone poles. Then in 1970, we bought our boss out by a guy named Larry Amula and myself. And then we started contracting, taking poles over CFP, Canadian Forest Products, down the other end of the Lower Lake. And then we started logging. We started logging for CFP, and we were taking the timber license, a lot of the timber license. We worked through about 1980, taking all the different timber licenses, and then about 1980 we bought a mill ourselves, and a little mill, and after that, we ran the mill for about 8 years. We had a small quota that we cut ourselves, and we did that till 1987. And then Larry once wanted to move to Denman Island, so we sold everything. And that was it. We just sold it all. Oh, I must mention on machinery in those days, when we bought it in between 70 and 80, we were paying 18% interest. That's what we were paying on. That's what the interest was on that machinery. So we kept just working, paying the interest. And then Larry moved over to Denman Island. We sold everything. And then I went to work for CRB. And this was getting into the 90s now. I went to work for CRB and working in the landings and bucking logs. And then I worked, actually I was working on a grapple yarder for a while. No, I'd like anybody, would you like to ask me some questions? So I can.
What about the mill at the industrial park? I gather that was a mill at one time. The industrial park?
Yeah, Evans Mill.
Oh, in 72, Evans moved. Yeah. What about it?
How did it come about and what did it do?
Well, I think what happened, the government gave out a quota, and they got the quota, but with that quota you had to set up a mill in Pemberton. And that was in about 1970. And they ran that mill, all they made that mill was just a stud mill. And so when the price of studs went down, there they were. They couldn't go into other different lumber. So they lasted 2 years. And they took the quota and they went back to Lower. They still had the quota. We could never understand how they did that. Because they still had the quota, they had the timber, but they weren't in Pemberton anymore. They moved to Lillooet. So we were, quite upset about that. People they moved out. It seemed as if they built the mill here just to get the quota, and once they got the quota, then they were gone. That was that.
That was the end of that mill.
That was the end of that mill.
It employed about 400 men.
Oh,
It was a very large operation.
Lots of contractors and all the logging contractors and all the people worked in the mill. There's still people in the valley that came here because of that mill. Managed to find something else to do.
When you say that they got the quota, do you mean like the lease or
Timber.
the timber lease?
Quotas. In 1952 or 3, they started. Everything went to a quota system. And if you had a small timber sale in that period of time, you got a little quota. Everybody had, there were so many little quotas in Pemberton at that time. And then the bigger outfits started buying them up, buying all the quotas up. That's why there's there's just a few small operators left.
So today you'd call that a timber license? Like
I'm sorry?
Today you'd call that a timber license?
No, it's still quota, but
Yeah.
a timber license is different than there's a tree harvesting license, and there's a timber license, and there's a quota. So, well, maybe that's what they call it. I don't think so.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that you weren't too mechanized when you first started logging. What kind of machinery did you have to work with? Like, how did you get your poles out of the bush and then?
We had a
Yeah, that's what I was going.
450 John Deere.
Okay.
We had a 450 John Deere. We could just about go anywhere in these mountains with that 450 John Deere. We could winch it any place.
Oh, okay.
We winched up the hill. The winch and the tracks, everything seemed to work together. You can hang it straight up.
It was steel tires?
I'm sorry?
Steel tires on it?
Tracks.
No tracks.
Whatever.
Small bulldozer.
Yeah.
I'm a farmer.
No.
Oh, I see. Oh, I get you.
We did get rubber later with the skidders and that.
Yeah.
Now, when you got the poles all skinned and whatever you did, you loaded them on the train, or how did you get them out of
Yeah,
there?
we loaded them up, we put them on the truck, we hauled them down here, and they all went to Osier Cedar in Bellingham.
Oh,
So they had to be peeled, they had to be a finished product to go across the line.
yeah.
And that was all during the 60s. And then in 1970, Pemberton Pole,
Oh, yeah.
Walter.
yeah, they brought in a mechanical peeler. That was just about time, my back was getting tired.
What'd you use, a big draw knife?
Axe.
An axe?
Oh, is that right?
Is that right?
Axe. We got so good, we could just, you'd miss your feet by about that much.
My-
Whoosh, and
my
the
son-
bark would be flying off.
My son worked in Madoc near Marmot, and they have a big peeling there,
Yeah,
and he did by hand.
he did.
Everything by hand. They hired all the young kids, 18, 19, and if they wanted the job, that's what they did. My son got the job working there.
Peeling telephone
Peeling,
poles.
yep.
There's a lot of them nowadays, they'll use a draw knife.
Right out in the sun.
You know, right. That's why we used to like peeling them in the bush, when we didn't have to be in the sun.
They work long hours, start 5 in the morning.